Hey guys, it's Julia. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be the kind of spin-off from the last video I did, which was 10 colorful eyeshadow palettes that aren't rainbow. Today I wanted to rep my neutral lovers with 10 neutral palettes that aren't boring. I feel like last year there was this huge movement against neutral eyeshadow palettes, which I get because there were a lot of things coming out that just looked exactly the same. And I used to be super bored with neutral palettes, but I think there's such an oversaturation of neutral brown eyeshadow palettes in the beauty world, because that is in general what most people use in their makeup routines. I think because we get so sucked into the beauty community, we forget that we're such a minority of the actual consumer market of people who buy makeup. Anyways, I digress. Over the past year or so, I've really just fallen back in love with doing neutral eye looks, and I found a huge distinction between neutral palettes that are super exciting to me and that actually inspire me versus plain brown eyeshadow. So today I want to share with you guys 10-ish neutral palettes that are exciting to me, that are not boring at all. And I hope you guys enjoy this one. I'm feeling like a blood orange today with this look. Full details of this look should already be on Instagram. I'll talk about what I'm wearing on my eyes later in this video. And thank you to everyone so far who has purchased the Flower Child merch. It means the whole world to me. And without further ado, let's just jump into it. Hack. Don't get lip fillers, just put on a lipstick that you know damn well that you're allergic to. Then your lips will swell up to like 3 times their natural size.
You're literally the dumbest person I've ever met. It gives me a bad vibe, not funny, annoying.
I have to start off with the palette that basically inspired this entire video and is, in my mind, what epitomizes a neutral palette that's not boring. And that is my child, Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam. I think the release of the Soft Glam palette was what really got me back into loving neutrals. Before this came out, I was really down the whole colorful eyeshadow or dye train. And when this came out, the color scheme just clicked in a certain way. The main reason I think this palette is so great is because of the insane variety of what you can do with it. Yes, it is all neutral shades, but you have the softer neutrals, you have the brown tones, you have some reddish tones as well. You can do a very soft minimal look, or you can do a very vampy, deepened, smoky look. It just depends on what you want. Just because it's brown eyeshadows doesn't mean it has to be an everyday look. It can be a very glam and artistic look as well, whatever you want to do. I love that you get the variety of different depths of shades, but also different finishes. I love these two very foiled, very shiny metallic shades, as well as the softer shimmers. There's everything in here. There's so many different ways you can take this palette, and legitimately I don't think I've ever done a look with this palette that I didn't like in my collection. Probably one of the best palettes in my opinion that's ever been created. Every shade has a purpose, every shade has a place within this palette. It's one of the few palettes in my collection where I use every single shade. Most palettes in my collection I use most of the shades, but there's always a few that I'm just I don't like it. Whereas this palette, everything was just curated in a way that I think makes sense. Also, the formula's banging, we know this. Anastasia slaps! Very pigmented, very soft, velvety, easy to blend shadows that just perform like a dream. Next, I want to talk about what I'm wearing on my eyes right now. This is the Goddess palette from Alter Ego, and I'm sure you've seen this color scheme before. Basically a direct dupe of the Natasha Denona Gold palette, I believe. Palette number 2 in this video could either be Andy Gold or this. Personally, I would go with this one. I think the formula is absolutely amazing. Natasha's shadows, while they're good, I don't feel like they're worth the exorbitant price tag, and also they do dry out very quickly. I think the color scheme in here and even some of the duochromes are done just as good, if not better, than the original palette, and also it's less than $20. But yeah, I created today's very simple look with today's palette. I am wearing Iris and Juno in the crease. Pandora, Luna, and then Cassandra is on the center of the lid. It's this beautiful, it looks like a gold, but it actually has this very nice green, kind of alien shift to it. And that's mostly why I'm mentioning this palette, is because I think the duochromes in here are so unexpected within this neutral brown tone color scheme, but they work so well. So Valkyrie and Cassandra are these two beautiful gold toned shimmer shades, but they have this very interesting green flip to them. I don't know if you can really see the shift on camera. I think it picks up a lot better in natural lighting. But between these kind of fun duochrome shades, you also have these blues in here as well, and gorgeous bright gold shimmer shade. Again, I think very rich, kind of unexpected shades like this within a neutral palette can really just take the whole thing to a new level and just make it so much more fun to use on a daily basis. So again, with Soft Glam, you can do really soft looks. Today, if I hadn't put on this kind of green gold shade onto the center of my lid, this would be the most basic neutral eye look ever. But I think adding these little things in there, it still is neutral and still is very appropriate and subtle, but it adds something different. I also really like this formula a lot. The mattes are amazing, especially this kind of pukey baby poop brown shade here called Athena. So of course this would be my favorite shade, but also the shimmers. I think these look very wet on the eyes. They're a very creamy dimethicone filled texture that gives them this really nice almost wet looking sheen to the eyes. I adore this palette. I think it's a really great affordable find, but genuinely one of my favorite neutral palettes I own. Another one of the first palettes that came to mind when I first thought of doing this video was the Dose of Colors Shrinkation palette. This was probably my favorite palette release last year, and I try to not get super sucked into promo packaging or swatches. I try to like not base my purchasing decisions off that, because a lot of the time swatches can either be built up a ton, or you can really manipulate the lighting, use flash to make them look a lot more shiny and prettier. But this one, when I saw the swatches, especially of these very like super foiled shimmer shades,
Country boy, I love you.
I knew it was going to be a very special formula, and bitch. The shimmers are just as ridiculously crazy as I was expecting. It's not just another neutral palette with a pop of blue. I think these very foiled block party type shimmers are just, again, they have a nice foiled base to them, but they also have micro glitter packed all the way throughout, so it just looks very multi-dimensional, crazy, like almost wet looking on the eyes again. Just a Kiss, this very basic looking champagne shade here, is one of the most special shades I have in my collection. I wear this one whenever I want to do a very special occasion look. So this was my prom and winter formal eyeshadow. This was my graduation eyeshadow. It looks so pretty on the eyes. It's almost like a sheer base to it, so it just looks like pure, like, it just looks like your eye is sweating glitter. Beautiful.
This is disgusting. I like it though.
But the mattes, I was very surprised with. These are almost like a no effort blend. You just put them on and they're like perfectly diffused already for you. And personally for me, that's what I really search for in my neutral colors, because when I'm doing brown eyeshadow, I just want it to diffuse nicely. I don't mind taking the extra time to work out a deep blue or something, but for browns, I just want them to be nice and softly blended out. And then tonally, I think there's a really nice gradient of shades in here, and again, you can do so many things with this one, and I just think it's a beautiful, versatile palette. Like one of my top 5 favorite palettes in my collection. I love doing these palette videos because I just get like swatches of the most beautiful eyeshadows I own all over my hands. The Kaja Beauty Bento trios. They do have quite a few colorways of these. Some of them are also very like non-neutral. So if you do want more colorful versions, the formulas are banging across the board. But the neutral trios are my personal favorite because when I'm traveling, I pretty much only do neutral shadows in general, and these are just so easy to chuck into a bag. They're indestructible. But these never fail to inspire me because the shimmer trios in particular, these shimmers they make have the most beautiful, ridiculously glittery finish, kind of reminding me of the Dose of Colors shimmer formula. It's a little bit more of like a finer glitter. So I'm going to show you, this is the Orange Blossom trio. It's all shimmers. You just get 3 of these beautiful, really well coordinated shades. As you can tell, there's like a nice amount of base pigment to it, but it has this beautiful, very glittery finish on the top of it. And I think the shimmer formula is very, very special from them. So Orange Blossom has 3 of these beautiful shades, but they've also come out recently with these matte trios, which I personally love even more. Chocolate Dahlia is my personal favorite because it has this beautiful like champagne shimmer shade, same formula as the regular shimmer trios, but you also get these beautiful basic buttery matte shades. These are a really great formula as well. Just stick this on the lid, stick this in the crease, stick this in the outer corner, and you're done. So I think these are mostly inspiring to me because it's like not too much effort. I can pretty much just put these mattes in the crease and then choose any of these shimmers I want to put onto the lid. But also just in general, they're not boring because they have this beautiful, really unique glittery finish, and they're just not your basic shimmers. $21 for 3 eyeshadows seems like a lot because these are so small. $21 for 3 single shades, that's $7 a single, and these are some of the best shimmers I've ever tried. So I think these are lovely, and if you can find like 1 or 2 different color schemes you want, I don't think you need every single colorway of these. I certainly don't have that. I'm very happy with these. Nabla to me has always been like the cool international sister of Anastasia Beverly Hills. Like Anastasia is like a rich, famous socialite in her own right, but Nabla is like her older sister and cousin who's actually traveled the world a little bit and just has that extra flair. So I wanted to talk about the Soul Blooming palette today because I do think Dreamy also qualifies as a beautiful like neutral palette with a fun, inspiring twist to it, but I wanted to talk about Soul Blooming because this is pretty much mostly neutrals and I mostly use the neutrals in here, but again, there's so much like interesting stuff going on in here that I think it's just a very fun palette to use. I do prefer Nabla's matte formula over their shimmers just a little bit. Very, very like soft and creamy. Also kind of like thick. There's some like powder mattes that I feel like they have a nice amount of pigment to them, but they don't have this like creaminess and thickness to them, if that makes sense. I don't think that makes sense, but like whatever. Not to say that it's like overly pigmented or anything. These blend beautifully and they're not super hard to work with. But I just think there's a nice like richness and thickness to the color that you don't really get from a lot of other like more powdery formulas, I guess. Anyways, this is a very fun neutral palette to me because even if you like cover up the blue shades in here and you just look at these, it kind of just like reminds me of a coffee shop with some peaches in there. As basic as a dark brown shade is, if it's well done, it makes me excited to use. Honey Drip is a very interesting shade, especially to put on the inner corner because it's like a very kind of like chunky glitter duochrome shade. I know some people like really did not love the shade because it was so chunky, but I think it's really gorgeous on the inner corner. It's a very like fun peachy gold toned pink shift. But yeah, this is another favorite like neutral palette that's not super boring. This one was a no-brainer for me to include, the Huda Beauty Nude palette. They definitely laid out this palette and formulated these shimmers in a way that looks very appealing to the eye. I think it's a very aesthetically pleasing like palette that's meant to be photographed and shared on Instagram, if that makes sense. The white flecks within these metallic shimmer shades here just gives them this very intensely foiled look in the pan. On the eyes though, the kind of like white flecks that you see that photograph really beautifully, they turn into this really interesting kind of like pearly finish. And it has this beautiful bronze pigment, but the whites that you kind of dissolve when you pick it all up with the brush and mix it together just turns into this really beautiful pearlescent foiled look. So I think it's the formula of the shimmers in here that makes it particularly special. But again, I just think the color scheme is so well put together. I use every single shade in here very frequently, with the exception of the pressed glitters, because disgusting. But I think everything plays together. I also love that it's a neutral palette with not just like warm brown shades. It's more shows a cool toned like mauve-y pink tone side, and I think that's very interesting. And it's just like something I never get bored of looking at. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think Huda's big palettes are very, I don't know, I think they're hated on a lot, but they're one of the best things that she offers in her line. I think her smaller palettes, while they're nice, they don't hold a candle to the formula and the entire just like layout and aesthetic of her bigger ones. I wasn't sure if I was going to put the Melt Gemini palette in this video or the last video, because it's like, it's halfway between colorful and neutral. You have the green shades in here, but you also have these beautiful like kind of pukey toned, orangey toned neutrals in here. I think this is quite easily like one of the best palettes I've ever used in my life. Melt's formula is truly something else. It's so fragile, so I wouldn't travel with this anywhere, which kind of makes me sad. But I think the softness of these, the mattes and the shimmers combined, just create these very rich, depth-filled looks to them. So regarding these matte shades here, as basic as they look, they're just the essentials. There's no filler shades in here. Everything has a purpose. Everything works beautifully together. Lorelei is like my world's perfect. It's kind of like a cross between like a mustard yellow, a kind of orange shade, and a pukey brown in one, and it's just, oh, ridiculous how beautiful that is. If you're like a fan of pukey, poopy, mustardy kind of browns and yellows like I am, I think this will be like one of your holy grails. Like I can confidently say if I had to get rid of all my palettes and keep like only 5, I think this would definitely be in there. Then another palette that I want to mention that is kind of like a Gemini, half neutral and half colorful, is the Juvia's Place Masquerade palette. It's not like a completely neutral palette, so if you are somebody who doesn't use colorful shadows ever, you probably wouldn't want to get this one because you would not be using half the palette. And if you want to, you can just use these shades with each other and these shades with each other, but I love that you can kind of mix and match, do whatever you want. Just talking about the bottom half, which is the neutrals though, I think Juvia's Place formula is stunning, one of the best affordable eyeshadow formulas, and the shimmers in particular are something super special to me. So Casablanca, it looks like a basic, very just standard coppery tone shade, but these shimmers go for miles and miles. So
this is disgusting. I like it though.
And I think it's probably the best palette from Juvia's Place. If you're just wanting to try them out, you can get a sampling of their more neutral shades and their more colorful shades. Again, versatility is the name of the game here, so yeah.
Folks,
the new ABH Jackie Aina palette has been like such a favorite for me this summer. And this palette, I look at it and think of it in my mind as a neutral palette, even though there are a lot of beautiful colorful shades in here. I think at its heart though, the base of this are these jewel toned, earthy toned neutrals in here are just really grounding the whole palette down. I think this is a beautiful neutral palette for people of like deeper to dark skin tones, and I think it's more of like a dramatic palette for people of my skin tone. Still though, when I want some beautiful matte shades with a really rich color payoff to them, I love the kind of mid-tone to deeper mattes in here. So it's like kind of my going out neutral palette. It's not really a palette that I would do like a no makeup look with. If I want to do a glammed up look that's still in the neutral kind of color spectrum, or if I want to do a colorful look, I think this is a beautiful palette to have, and one of the palettes of summer, dare I say. Finally, for those of you who are full-on matte lovers, or if you just really like the peachy toned, pink toned neutrals, the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes is one of my favorite palettes that I own. It is one of the only like Too Faced palettes I've owned that I actually love. Also, Natural Lust is one of my favorites, but this I think is probably Too Faced's best ever formula, but like it's a banger. It works really well. You can take it in a very, very, very neutral direction or a very colorful direction. This is a palette that usually comes traveling with me, mostly because the packaging is like indestructible. I've dropped this on so many hotel counters. It's still kicking. But yeah, I think this palette came out at a time that people were starting to view like peach tone shades as neutrals. It was kind of riding on the heels of Modern Renaissance, and that was when people were viewing like pink tone shades as something that could work within a neutral diet, if you will. So I appreciate this palette for what it is, but definitely is one of my favorite formulas of mattes. And just a really lovely, solid release from Too Faced. Can't say that about a lot of their things. Alright guys, that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and watch the colorful version of this video if you haven't watched that one yet. Yeah, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you are subscribed down below, and also follow me on Instagram to see makeup looks like this posted. Damn, I'm so excited for Halloween season. That's gonna be lit. But if you made it to the very end of this video, you Gemini witches, you get the modest meme. Love you. Bye.
Hi, I just wanted to remind you that I'm better.